Hello, happy Friday. Welcome to Miami View Women. My name's Miriam. I have the pleasure of being your hostess today, along with my amazing co-hostess, Carolina Castillo at Lawyer Relations. And I'm super excited to celebrate this Friday and introduce Carolina to a dear friend of mine, Liza Benkovitch. Yay! Welcome to the show. Thanks for taking the time. So, Carolina, I'll tell you the quick story of how we met. This was at least 3 years ago, maybe 4, right? Back when Venture Cafe was first starting. So Venture Cafe is an amazing innovation community. They're now called Air Ventures. They made a transition at the end of COVID, just a few months, maybe a few weeks ago, actually. But anyways, back then, Liza ran the show there. Like, if you wanted to have an event at Venture Cafe, you had all doors went through Liza. And I wanted to have a tech event. So I went and chatted with her. And I just remember we were sitting in the cafe at the CIC, and you had your laptop open, and you just so polished, always looking just pristine. And you were like, so on top of it, you were like, okay, da-da-da-da-da. And you were like, all right, send me that right now. Da-da-da-da. Okay, that's confirmed. And you had all the details. And even the name of the event, Pitch and Sips, you helped me come up with. And I don't know if you remember.
Right. I remember that. Yeah, it's vivid in my mind.
I love it. How long ago was this?
I think it was like 2018. Possibly, or late 2017, early 2018. Yeah, I think so. I'm sorry, not 2017. It was definitely 2000, and I don't know, 2018.
I feel so privileged to be meeting you today. I feel so privileged because I feel that at Miami View Women, we celebrate Women's History Month every single day of the year. So happy Women's History Month.
Absolutely. I do too. I think we always have to fight for everything, equality, pay, our play in the game, being in a leadership position, that it's not like a 1 month thing. It's something that should be, there should be awareness of it every single day.
If you're watching, tune in. If you're tuning in, you're watching, comment in, let us know that you're here. We would love to know who's out there hanging out with us, celebrating Women's History Month. Liza, so I want to ask you, there's obviously been a ton of flurry with the Miami Tech that's been going on. And I know that we're going to get into kind of your work now is completely come full circle. You're doing amazing things, but you were involved in the Miami tech scene for so long, and I'm sure you still see everybody and stuff like that. So do you have any comments on what's happening locally with Miami Tech?
Yeah, I am, not so involved nowadays, but I do know that there's I just think that a community has grown a lot. Like, for example, I know that every other Wednesday, there's a little gathering at Lanyap, from 6 to 10. And that's like a Miami Tech welcome happy hour. And I went a couple of weeks ago, and I could tell you I knew nobody there, which never used to happen.
Yeah.
You kind of go in and like, oh, hey. And I went, I'm like, oh my God, I knew 2 people. And the third one came a little bit later, who actually invited me. And the person that invited me flew from San Francisco for an event in Miami. So I have to say that the community is growing a lot, and a lot of people from New York coming to Miami to set up funds. A lot of people, from San Francisco coming to Miami and Boca area to see where's the activity. I spoke to someone today who I met at a conference in New York, who's actually, coming to Miami to set up a bank, and also in the tech field. There's just, I think the growth here is really exponential. I think it's happened in a very short time. There's just a lot more activity here, I think in the big game than there was before. It's good and bad, but I just think like right now there's a lot more companies that are moving here that are larger companies offering, for the local tech talent, to find new jobs and just to be able to kind of widen the opportunities. So I know it's growing a lot. I know there are a lot of companies raising capital, significant capital during COVID. Even like during the height of COVID, a lot of companies have raised money. So I think it's just really interesting what's going on in the community.
I think it's interesting too, because I think the move from tech to Miami has everything to do with COVID. That is, what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
So because, New York and California really closed down, a lot of these businesses either went out of business, or it was too expensive to run, or they didn't feel supported. And one of the good things that has happened in Florida is that we were opened. And so everybody just said, okay, Florida's opened, sky's the limit. Let's get over there and talk to Francis Suarez over there, right? I mean, we've all seen the cafecitos and all that good stuff. And they've really been talking about Bitcoin, particularly, which I know Miriam and I were talking in the back end this week. And, why Bitcoin? Why do you think that is? And how does that pose a problem with climate justice?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I agree. Like, definitely, I think the spark and surge that we're seeing right now does have a lot to do with COVID, but we wouldn't have any foundation to stand on if it wasn't for the amazing work that people, including women like Liza, did for years, just grinding it out, building Miami Tech, screaming, "We are here." I mean, she would pull off 10 to 15 events. And yes, there were other people involved too, at Venture Cafe for sure. Yes, 100%. And even the team after she left, amazing. I just want to take time to acknowledge that.
Nice.
I would see her running around and I want to get into the crypto thing, but I kind of want to also, this might be a good transition into what your work is doing now, because I felt like when you left, because we kind of started establishing more of a friendly relationship, and you were tired, girl, from all of that,
Yeah.
And I now see the work that you're doing is just transformational and healing. But so we'll get into that, but let's comment on the Bitcoin stuff, the cryptocurrency. Because for me personally, I started looking into these NFTs.
Mm-hmm.
Being an artist, everyone's talking about NFTs. I was all about it. Obviously, blockchain has been something that has been going on at Venture Cafe. We've been having blockchain events for years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Been talking about it.
And Bitcoin events. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so now it's starting to get a flurry, but I recently found out that, number one, there is some things with the environment that are not so great with cryptocurrency, just all of the, or the blockchain, I shouldn't say cryptocurrency, the blockchain behind it that powers it causes a lot of CO2 to be emitted into our atmosphere. And I don't know if I haven't seen any breakdowns of okay, if we go fully blockchain, then it's going to, tip it this way. And, maybe there's data on that. I haven't seen it, but for me, I'm okay, I can't get behind any of that personally because of how I feel about the climate crisis.
That's a good point. I'm honestly
before we move on, for the viewers who are not techie, they are feeling lost like I am. So if you can help us with what is a blockchain, I have no idea. And what is an NFT? I have no idea. So please enlighten us before you move on so we can keep up.
Okay. Oh, I'm not a tech. I'm not super techie on blockchain and Bitcoin. I know what they are, but for me to give you a full definition, I think Google would be your best friend on that. I think blockchain is it's the architect for a platform, right? for a cryptocurrency, for Bitcoins. They're not the same thing. Bitcoin as an alternative like source of currency. A lot of people like Bitcoin because it's not cash, because you can, in countries where inflation is high, you can use a Bitcoin, an alternative sense of currency where you don't have to worry about that. In the United States, it's good in some trade in some markets, not so much in others. I don't personally use Bitcoin. I do invest in it. I invested, this is a crazy story. I'm going to be really honest here. A long time ago, in 2017, I went to an event in Wynwood, and it was run by Bitstop, which is actually a really cool company out of Miami. And they, I believe, have Bitcoin ATM machines, if I'm not mistaken. And they have them in Wynwood and Overtown. And I went to their event, and they taught us how to buy Bitcoin. So everybody that went to the event, they bought, they gave us $5, and we bought a Bitcoin. And the Bitcoin is being stored in a digital wallet. Well, and the digital wallet has a key, a 10-digit key. And they told you very specifically that, you can only access that wallet with that key. And you better write down that key on a piece of paper or wherever, that you're never going to lose it. So I wrote it down on a piece of paper, and lo and behold, I cannot find a piece of paper. So I don't know how much of a Bitcoin lying around somewhere in, Bitcoin airspace.
Right.
that was once worth $5. I don't know how much it is worth now, because I don't remember the amount. I think it's like maybe 1/8 or 1/10 of a Bitcoin. But hey, it's some money that I have absolutely no idea how to access.
Yeah.
Or where it is. So it's like, in Bitcoin space. And I think there was an article published about that a while ago, and not that long ago, that said there are a lot of people like me with keys, that are just in Bitcoin airspace that they haven't accessed for years because they don't remember what their code is. But I do know about the climate justice part, and I think there's definitely something to be said about that. And I feel like when there's excess in anything, when you overuse any kind of or product or industry or a machinery, manufacturing, whatever it is, you're going to, the fallback is climate, right? Like during the height of COVID pandemic, I think one time, I think there's an article that was published on the internet saying that this is the first time our air has been so clean, because everybody stayed at home, and there was not a lot of usage, not a lot of cars on the road, and not a lot of manufacturing, or less so, So that is a normal, balance, the yin and yang. It makes sense. It's unfortunate that the climate does have to suffer, and hopefully there could be alternative ways to produce Bitcoin, or to be able, that it doesn't affect the climate to that level.
Yeah. And the thing is that for me, it gets a little crazy, because then I heard that they were testing putting servers into the ocean to cool faster. And I'm like, okay, who's in charge here?
Whoa.
Who's making the decisions, right?
Yes.
Our producer has put up a definition here. Blockchain is computer coding that is designed for ultimate security. It involves at least two computers confirming information. Bitcoin uses blockchain tech to confirm digital currency. So Carolina, if you think about the blockchain is like the bottom layer, right? So you've got these different blockchains, and they involve little transactions that ping across networks of computers that are connected and decentralized. So there's no one in power, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And then you build off a blockchain. So first of all, there's a lot of chatter around whether blockchains can be trusted and which blockchains are good, which ones are not really centralized, and who's running that blockchain, and do you have enough clout? And it is a whole Real Housewives of blockchain or something, like for real. And then, so cryptocurrencies are built on blockchain. Each different cryptocurrency is built on their own, and an NFT is a non-fungible token that's built on a blockchain network, and it just represents something of value that someone places on it.
Okay.
Just like anything else. So a lot of artists are doing this thing, but it can get complicated.
So I'm a little nervous because I hear that what maybe the government would like to do, our local government, not to say any names, would include like Bitcoin and all of that to pay for taxes and to pay for all of this stuff. I mean, and I hear from others that is extremely risky, that's not something that you want to incorporate into your local government. And because it is kind of, I mean, it's kind of like almost, what if the stock market goes down and then Bitcoin loses a bunch of money and then the government all of a sudden gets defunded? Like, that's the kind of stuff that I'm hearing. So I'm not really into Bitcoin or any of this, because it really does give me like a sense of distrust, a sense of fear, a sense of, and I really also don't believe that the federal government is going to go for this. I just think that this is way too risky, that you're playing with people's lives and taxes and, just local government. And it doesn't make sense to me. That is my opinion. It just doesn't make sense to me. I know people like Francis Suarez are trying to push it, and I'm just like, how does this make sense?
Yeah. I have a tweet here that we can show.
Okay.
That is expressing some of these concerns. If the people are interested in seeing, this, they probably should check out. Can we bring that tweet up? There we go. This account here seems to be keeping an eye on it. I don't know this person. I don't follow them. They're verified. I don't know what, if that means anything, but
Billy Corbin is a rock star. So he is a documentary person, and he follows local governments very, very closely, as well as federal government very, very closely. I follow him on Twitter all the time. Mm-hmm. He's got some good insight. Sometimes a little, very much to the left, or very kind of progressive and liberal, but he's got some good insight on a lot of things.
Okay. Well, so people can follow that, but I think we've strayed off a little far from, all of this. It's very stressful. So Liza, let's talk a little bit about the work that you're doing. I think we all need a little healing right now. So what have you been up to? How did you get into what you're doing now in terms of all of the empowerment, like the nutritional, the yoga, which I'm a huge fan of? Let's talk a little bit about that stuff.
Sure. Yeah, no problem. So in December of 2019, I took a personal leave, which turned into a sabbatical. And I, I'll be honest, I was burnt out, very burnt out. I think the startup industry really takes a lot out of you, and leading startup communities and just always being on the go. I literally felt like a hamster in a cage, and I was just going, and really wasn't very productive in going anywhere because I just was running out of fumes. And I ended up leaving my job at that time, and then going to Europe and spending time with my family. I really needed, and I really felt like my intuition, that voice was telling me you need to take your time, you need time off. And for the first time ever in my life, I actually followed what that voice was telling me, because I normally whatever, I'm just gonna work, and then I just listened to myself, and I listened to myself. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take the time. I went to Europe. I saw my father. I saw my little brother, who's 12 years old, who's loves all the work that I'm doing and supports me. And she's so cool. And then and then I went to Russia, and then like, I just had time with my family, which was like the most important thing to me. And just, I was able to take the time off and see, well, what was important, what wasn't, and learn about myself. And then afterwards, when I came back to the US, I ended up staying here for a couple of weeks with my partner. And then I went to Canada, and then I went to Canada right before all of COVID happened. And it was just like kind of interesting because I actually got stuck in Canada for a long time. I got stuck in Canada, and with the time off, I'm like, well, what do I do? I can't apply for jobs because all the jobs I'm applying for in Miami, there's a pandemic, they're not hiring. Like, now you really have time, and you're like, how do you use that time? And I've been craving for that time for so long. I had it, and I'm like, oh my God, what do I do with it? And then I talked to some friends. I did some research online, and then I realized there's a program, a health coaching program that I could take, and I ended up taking it. And I started doing a yoga, teacher training, and I really learned a lot about health, but not like necessarily nutrition, but really holistic health, like what it means to be healthy from all angles of your life, from your spiritual life to your social life, to relationships with your family, your friends, to your spiritual life, what you eat, what you consume. And I really kind of literally turned my life around. I learned how to cook. I never touched the stove. I was definitely afraid of the stove. Definitely afraid of going into the kitchen because I didn't have the confidence. I thought I would screw up, And got like a couple dishes didn't turn out so well, but overall, like, I learned what it means to nurture yourself, and that is like the most important thing. And that nurturing comes from so many different places of your life, not only cooking, but establishing a self-care routine, doing a little bit of yoga, meditation, just like relaxing, maybe going for a walk, getting your nails done. Whatever it is that you do in your life, or whatever job you have, just making sure that you have some time during the day that you can nurture yourself in ways that feel right for you. So for me, it felt right. Like, all of a sudden I loved cooking, and I listened to myself. I'm like, this feels right. Like what do I feel like I want to do? I want to cook, because cooking became a creative outlet for me. And never in my life did I think I would say that, because like I said, I was definitely afraid of the kitchen. So it's just like, it kind of flowed, and I ended up finishing the course, and I'm now in kind of the initial stages of starting up, my health coaching hustle, and then integrating that with yoga. I got my certificate in Vinyasa yoga, which I really like, have a lot of flows in it. And now I'm taking a course on yoga nidra, which is rest yoga. So really like deep state of yoga where you can relax. So it really, really helps people who are like highly anxious and, just need to find ways that they can rest. So yoga nidra is really fabulous. And once I finish the course, I'm going to be launching like a YouTube channel with a yoga nidra. So that was like, I went from really operating at like 500% to finding how I can create a balance in like my life. And that's something like when I fully launch my side hustle, that's kind of what I want to do. I want to be able to help entrepreneurs, small like business owners to medium-sized like business owners learn how to create balance. And it doesn't take a lot of time. It just takes an approach. Right. And like honing that approach may take a little bit of time, an investment, but it's an investment in yourself that will always pay back. It's not something that you can just say, oh, I did that, it didn't work. It will work for you. It's just making, giving yourself the opportunity to do that is kind of what is the first step.
Definitely. I mean, if you're not feeling 100%, you can't give 100%, right? So I'm a mother and a business owner, and if I'm not zen, right, just to put it lightly, I can't give 100% to work and to my daughter and to focusing in my life. And so I think that's really important. And COVID has a tendency of doing that, right? COVID has been atrocious, a travesty to so many families, to our livelihoods, but yet we found the good things in regards to focusing on ourselves, on our families, on, transforming, ourselves into a new us, right? Like, what is it that really motivates me and picks and wakes me up in the morning? And I know we were talking in the back end, and I loved that you said that your passion is social justice, and that you are currently volunteering your time for an organization and doing their marketing and their digital. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm on the board. For NCJW Miami. It's a Jewish organization that is actually national, but we have a chapter in Miami, and I'm the VP of marketing, but I also help out on their advocacy program. So when COVID hit, it was actually kind of a stressful time for a nonprofit, because you don't really know, like, how do you pivot, right? We used to do a lot of in-person events, fundraising, and so forth, and now everything went on Zoom. All our programs, all our marketing, everything is virtual. So that pivot was kind of interesting, and the organization actually did pretty well. We have our awesome leader, our ED, Amy Bloom. Big shout out to her. She's phenomenal. She's she knows how to cultivate a leadership and how to lead. But we all lead together. It's the whole board that works together to kind of help NCGW grow. So our efforts in social justice, we're launching 2 programs. One is called Pro Truth, to raise awareness about fake reproductive clinics in Florida, and actually all across the country. We're also launching a program called Courts Matter, to educate and raise awareness about the federal court system. This is something that has been in the news for a while, and the courts are one of the most important infrastructures and institutions that often. And we're also just trying to run programs now that elevate the well-being of women, children, and families in Miami. For example, last Thursday, we partnered, but a couple of NCJW advocates partnered with an organization that went to Homestead to protest against the detention center. With the Biden administration, he had promised that he would close the detention centers, and then there's one that just recently reopened. So we are very much against that, and we're very vocal. So we advocate and we lobby for the issues that we believe in, and where we want to be able to help, families. And we had gone a couple of years ago, pre-COVID, for a rally with hundreds of other organizations as well. And it's just these things work because there's organizations of people that rally for change. And
absolutely. What is the name of the Jewish organization?
So it's called the National Council of Jewish Women.
Okay.
And the one in Miami is the National Council of Jewish Women of Greater Miami.
Okay.
I've been to several of their events. Liza, you've invited me.
Yeah.
Brooke has invited me.
Yeah.
I joined as a member on my first event. I didn't, and I don't think I ended up renewing my membership because of COVID or whatever, but it was, the first event I went to was beautiful, flawless.
Yeah.
I mean,
classy.
Yeah. And Carolina, when things get going again, we should go to these, because you meet just powerhouse women all around you. You don't have to be Jewish to join. Okay. And then the second event I went to, you guys brought in this speaker. I think she was the new transitioning president of the National or something.
Yeah. Yeah. The CEO.
I cried.
Yeah.
Her story, I mean, it was amazing and inspiring. I mean, talk about a leader. What is she up to? I want to get up. Is she on Twitter? Like, I want to follow her.
You have to follow her. You know, it's funny. I just got an email from National that she was on the phone with Kamala's husband, who thanked her personally who thanked her and NCGW, like, as an organization, for supporting Biden, for supporting the nominees that, you know, that are going into his administration. So, so we're very involved with, you know, lobbying for, but in an advocacy way, for candidates that, you know, we feel would be good for these types of roles. But yeah.
So what you're saying is you also endorse candidates that you believe in to then run for office?
I wouldn't say endorse. I think I can't speak on that, but we do advocate for candidates that we feel are, like, you know, say like Biden, you know, say, hey, I want to, like, this is, for example, a Kristen Clark, you know, so we had like advocated for her, you know, to be appointed to I think the DOJ civil rights or something. I don't remember her like full title, but I think endorsement may be a strong word, and maybe we do endorse, but I would know that, and I wouldn't be the right person to speak about that. But I know we support and we advocate in ways that we can as an organization.
Yeah, I mean, here locally, I think you guys were part of like helping with equal pay. Like, they've been around for a long time.
100 years.
Right.
100 years.
Here in Miami alone.
Yeah.
Like this is kind of like, you look at it, Caroline, you're like, these women, they've been running things.
I cannot wait to join. I can't wait to join. So please invite us, because yes, like you were saying, COVID has changed how we engage, how we talk to each other, how we even fundraise, right? Even fundraising has changed because of COVID.
Yeah.
And so please invite us if you have a Zoom event with them. You know, once we all get our vaccines, hopefully by May, which is what the federal government is saying. Of course, Ron DeSantis is saying April, right? So it's like a little competition, which is good. The faster, the better. I think as soon as the federal government said May, Ron DeSantis is like April. So, hey, you know, I love competition. Let's do it. Just let's get it vaccinated. And then we'd love to participate and really join, because I know in the back end, you were also saying that you support, you were not hiring, but engaging doctors to help in the prisons. How does that work?
Yeah.
Because your work is very global. It's not just in one thing like immigration. It really kind of goes into everything. So what do you do with the prison system and the doctors?
Sure, no problem. So I'll get into it in 1 minute, but I do want to say something is like, we're actually having, so NCGW Miami is having our event May 6th is the mother of all birthdays. So we are in 100 years of, you know, activity and organization in Miami. And we're honoring the mayor, the Miami-Dade County mayor, in our program. So if you do come, you get to see so the mayor. So it's pretty awesome, and she's really a great supporter of NCGW Miami, and she's come to a lot of our like functions and so forth. So May 6th, the mother of all like birthdays. I'll send you the link a little bit later. But May 6th, I'll send you guys the link. But if you go on our website, which is www.ncgwmiami.org, you'll find it on there. So I would say, like, in early fall, I started a social justice project. It's called Doctors for Social Good. And I started this project because I felt there was a need to help incarcerated individuals with medical declarations for their home confinement petitions. So what has happened in the prison system is that you have a really big kind of lapse in addressing healthcare needs for inmates. So inmates go for years without seeing a medical a professional, and they have doctors on staff in a lot of the federal prisons in the state and so forth, but they just don't care enough to actually send people to see doctors and so forth. So a lot of incarcerated individuals end up having really serious, life-threatening conditions that make them more susceptible to catching COVID. And in the prison system, you know, like there's no social distancing, there's no, you know, there's no sanitation. Like, you know, people can't get access to soap, can't get access to sanitizers and so forth. So it's, I just felt like we need to do something to help inmates, and I shouldn't say the word inmates because that's not the right word, but incarcerated individuals, to help them be able to serve their sentences at home. So what I created was a project, and I'm very early in this project, and I helped one incarcerated individual get a medical declaration in Pennsylvania. And I found a doctor. I was super lucky. I had initially like Googled the doctor's name, and, you know, like he doesn't have Twitter, he didn't have anything. I was like, oh crap, how am I gonna find this doctor? I went on Facebook and ended up a friend with, we had a friend in common. So I contacted my friend and I asked him like, hey, can you like introduce me to your friend who's a doctor? And he's like, I haven't talked to him in 10 years. I don't know what to say to him. I'm like, this is what you say, you know, can you make this introduction? And he agreed and he introduced me. And I ended up taking it from there. I asked him if he could do a medical declaration for someone in a confinement, and he agreed. He did it pro bono. And these medical declarations cost anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000. They're
Wow.
very expensive, very expensive.
Wow.
He reviewed like 500 pages worth of medical notes, you know, medical documents from this individual.
So this is all just for one incarcerated person. All of this investigation, research, money, just for one incarcerated person.
Yes, but the person didn't pay anything. This was done for free. Like there was no cost involved in me doing this or anybody else doing this. Is all pro bono. But you know, had the person charged me, or I wouldn't be paying for it. But had there been exchange of money, then it would have cost, you know, on average about $5,000, sometimes more, because it's per hour to read all the documents and so forth. So it's a very like expensive service, kind of in a way that, but I want to be able to make it pro bono, and I wanted to be able to get enough doctors on board who would be willing to work with me. So I have been able to recruit a couple of more doctors, so I'm happy on that. And now with the new Biden administration, and you know, now that like things have been kind of speeding up a little bit more, I feel like this is a better time to just go back into it. I took a little break for a while because it's also very emotionally tense. It's like a very emotionally draining type of work. Like, you know, you kind of feel like the person's life is in your hands in a way, because you're trying to get them a physician to do a medical declaration. You don't know if they're going to do it. You know, like once they do it, you don't know if it's going to work. Like it's really, really draining.
How long does the process of this take?
So it took 2 months.
Wow.
It took 2 months, and then you just kind of like, I don't know what happened afterwards, but it took 2 months from start to finish. I started at the end of August. I got it in end of October.
Let me ask you, Liza, because I have some interest in doing some things with our, do we call it a reformation center, our prison system? You know, they're not properly named for what they do. Let's be honest.
No.
But anyways, I want to do some work there. So when you went in and you're doing this, how is the tech? Is it super low? Like, are you submitting papers? Because in my mind, I imagine it like that. Do they have internet? Like,
no. So it's complicated. You usually go through an attorney. So in this case, you liaise with an attorney. The person's a lawyer. So like the tech is low tech. Like so in the prison system, they communicate with the outside through something called True Links or Core Links, which is like iMessage or just like a email system.
yeah.
You can also do it like via SMS, but they go to a computer to send an SMS. So, there's very little tech involved. They don't have internet. A lot of times they don't have printers. Sometimes it depends which facility it is. Like there's very, very, very little tech. A lot of it is just mail. But I worked with an attorney on this. So therefore I connected the doctor to the attorney, and the attorney, they exchange information also via email. It's like, you can't mail a whole package.
No,
so everything is really exchanged via email. And then when it's ready, it's also exchanged via email. And then if the person is able to have a hearing with a judge, they can present the home confinement. They can present the medical declaration in support of their home confinement.
And I'm so sorry to cut you off, but it's 5:45 and we are double booked today. I'm so sorry.
We got caught up.
Okay.
Yes, we got cut up, but I mean, for God's sakes, from tech to marketing to health to advocate, you are just an amazing woman. I mean, we need more time with you so we can really get into the nitty gritty. I really admire your work and everything that you're doing. Any last words that you'd like to say or advice to young women in regards to just, following their path?
Just put yourself first. Always put yourself first. And I think that's like the most important thing. And that's something that I haven't done that before. And I just started to do it now. And I'm seeing a completely different, like lifestyle that I'm leading and everything. There's a big change between who I was before and who I am now. And also find other women around you that can cultivate the confidence in you, where you can hone your skills, like, create your own power circle, because that's how I was able to create all of this, because I have support. NCGW Miami supported me greatly through our friendships, through our leadership, and my friends, Miriam, and the community, CIC, like that is the platform that gave me those friendships. And this is like the roots, right? My partner. So just like have the circle of friends and family that can, that will support you and let you shine, right? But I honestly think the best thing you could do is put yourself first.
I love
Thank
that.
you so much. I love that. Thank you so much for your time and for being here with us.
Yeah. And Liza, you look great, by the way. I just want to say that. You look fantastic. Whatever yoga, health things you're doing, it's working, girl.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you for this, ladies. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Bye. Bye.
Bye.